number is not assignable because it is a string type. So contract will perfectly have all the rules to be implemented. That means its data type, its name, everything should match. According to the contract only, you have to design any component. So that means it cannot have a general number. It should be a string type. So Samsung TV. Okay. Next we have price, and it is a number type. Okay. Next we have in stock. In stock, it is a Boolean type. So Boolean type. So comma. Next print. Print is a method. And now you have to define the functionality of this method. And you can use flower brace. It is what type? It is what type? Void type. And it can use flower brace. And here I can define its functionality. And remember, if I don't write this print method, TV have a problem. It says that property print is missing. That means now the contract will guide the developer perfectly. So he cannot miss any mandatory value. Now what we are doing here, so we are implementing that print also here. And here we are writing, so console.log. And you know how to print the details, right? Name is equal to, so this dot current field, that is name. And we have price /n, price is equal to, and dollar, so this dot price. Okay. And we have /n and another, so that is stock. And here I defined is equal to dollar, and this dot in stock is equal to true, then question mark, so print available, colon, so print out of stock. That's how we need to configure the values. Now everything is fine, everything is configured here, everything is fine. Now we can implement that. That means now we can define. So how to access the members? So TV dot print, and it can print that value. Let's compile and run this. And here we will compile and run this. So tsc demo.ts. Yeah, and node demo.js, and it can print all those details and display. Now, what is difference between the previous approach and now with object-oriented approach? Now we are following the correct traditions in programming. Earlier, when we learned about an object, we don't have any reference for it. Simply imaginative, we are creating an object with, it can have name, it can have price. If you miss anything, if you add anything, see, suppose there are no options defined. Suppose here, I am adding one more property here, quantity. Quantity is 2. I am defining quantity as 2. Now you can see it shows an error. It says that according to your contract, you don't have any quantity. That's good. That means it will restrict the developers and force them to exactly design according to the requirements. They cannot miss anything. They cannot add anything. Right? That is what the concept about contracts. That is the reason interfaces are known as contracts in computer programming. Right? If anyone asks a point like, what is the purpose of an interface in computer programming? The perfect answer at a high expert level is to design contracts. We use interfaces for designing contracts. And technically, what is a contract? Contract comprises of set of rules that define how to design any component, that defines the behavior of the component, that define the properties of the component according to the client requirements, right? And remember, sometimes we don't design these contracts because a library is built by our architects. Those people will design the contracts. They will follow all the principles and design them. They will create a library for us and they will give the library to us. What we do as a developer is just implement that library and use it. So at a very high level, you will not design the contracts, you will just use the contracts. Because at very high level, large scale projects, the library is built by another team and they give you the library and you are a developer who is implementing the library. That is what happening everywhere. Suppose you are learning Java, .NET, PHP like technologies and all. So in all those technologies, you have a ready-made library built in for you. You are just importing that library and using that library. You are not building that library. However, according to your specific requirements, you will build few classes. But majority, you will implement existing and use them. And they are all designed by using these contracts. Once you look at every class that you are using in your official programming, whether it may be .NET or Java or anywhere, everything is coming from an interface only actually. Everything is implemented from an interface only because interface defines the rules for designing that component. And if you miss them, then it will show you an error. It shows you a problem. That is how we can define the rules, how you can configure the rules and contracts and define them. So example, this is one example. That means you designed, there are a lot of points. So here I told you the first basic point. That means here we created a contract. And according to the contract, we defined some rules. In the contract, we defined some rules and our object have to implement those rules. And if it is implementing the rules, it will follow all the rules. See, if I'm adding like quantity is 2. It is not taking. So I will change that. I am not using any contract. It can be any type. If it is any type, I don't care. I can have anything, spelling mistake or anything. I can add fields, I can remove fields, whatever I want, I can design. No, it cannot be like that in real world. It should be according to a specific contract. Then it will correctly tell what it should have, what it should not have, what are the members to be implemented and configured. That is how generally we define and configure and use the contracts. And as I told you, every contract you try here. So you try here, suppose making that contract as a public, then it shows a problem saying that public modifier cannot be used here. I'm using like private. So private, and it says that private also cannot be used here. You cannot use any access modifiers. What are access modifiers? I will tell you separately. So by default, everything is public. Everything is public. In the contract you are writing here. Suppose in the contract you said public, and you see here it says public cannot appear in a type member. Public cannot appear. It cannot appear in the type member. So you cannot define them. And we can define them later. We will see how we can properly implement them. But this is simply, we are creating a contract and we are implementing the contract. And as I told you that all the rules in the contract are mandatory. And very important is contract. So here important is contract. Contract can be defined with optional rules. Optional rules. Contract can be defined with optional rules. That is a property or method can be configured as optional, A property or a method can be configured as optional.